There is a moment when you realize that the multi-million-dollar company you built with your own sweat has turned into a viper pit of cruelty. I did not spend 20 years laying the foundation of this tech empire just to let silver-tongued climbers destroy it from within. Standing in the executive elevator in a cheap gray jumpsuit, holding a spray bottle, I watched a young manager treat me like trash on the bottom of his shoe. He had no idea that the silent janitor wiping his mess was actually the founder who owned the entire building. My name is Victoria Vance, and decades ago, I turned a small supply closet into a tech powerhouse called Zenith Systems. I designed the architecture of our cloud infrastructure long before it was popular, choosing every tile and glass panel with pride. After stepping down from daily operations to sit on the board, disturbing rumors reached me about a toxic culture taking over the offices. Instead of sending a pointless memo from above, I decided to go completely undercover as a low-wage custodian named Vicki to inspect the damage myself. Disguised in an ill-fitting uniform with my hair pinned back, I became totally invisible to the corporate ladder climbers. My first confrontation happened on the 12th floor, where a rising star named Brandon decided to show off for his impressionable team. While waving his expensive coffee around to preach about dominating the weak, he lost his grip and slammed the hot drink across the pristine glass wall. The scalding liquid splashed across my work boots while his young followers froze in dead silence, waiting to see his reaction. Instead of apologizing or helping, Brandon glared at me with absolute contempt and demanded that I scrub the floor before important leadership arrived. He spoke to me like I was a broken appliance, completely devoid of basic human respect. Before strutting away into the lobby, I felt an overwhelming urge to reveal my true identity right there and crush his ego into dust. Instead, I forced myself to take a deep breath, wipe down the messy wall, and silently vowed to sweep him out of my company for good. Over the next few weeks, my custodian uniform acted like a cloak of invisibility that granted access to every dark corner of the building. I listened to ambitious managers mock hardworking receptionists, ignore distress calls from struggling staff, and take credit for projects they never touched. Brandon was the absolute worst of them, constantly stepping on junior staff while groveling at the feet of senior directors like VP Garrison. He treated kindness as a weakness, systematically tearing down anyone who stood in his path toward a massive promotion. The breaking point occurred when I was crouching beneath a break room sink, pretending to fix a loose water pipe. Brandon cornered a brilliant junior developer named Tyler, forcing him to rush an untested system update that possessed critical security flaws. When Tyler bravely warned that the rushed code could destroy customer data, Brandon threatened to put him on a layoff list. Submission made my blood boil, because that predatory environment went against everything I ever built. That night, I secretly called Evelyn, the trusted head of internal auditing who had been my loyal friend for over 20 years. I instructed her to secretly isolate Brandon's rushed update in a secure sandbox server, without alerting anyone in management. Brandon believed his risky stunt would impress the executives during the upcoming board presentation, unaware that his reckless trap was about to spring back onto him. I wanted to expose his complete incompetence in front of the entire corporate executive board, where he could not hide. Days later, the quarterly showcase took place inside the main executive boardroom, surrounded by glass walls and high-ranking directors. Brandon stood proudly at the front of the room, confidently presenting his Rush Tech update as a major triumph of his brilliant leadership. Meanwhile, I quietly entered the back of the room with my mop and bucket, pretending to clean up a spilled smoothie near the coffee station. VP Garrison smiled warmly, preparing to hand Brandon a massive promotion on the spot for his unbelievable initiative. Suddenly, Evelyn stepped forward with a grave expression, interrupting the presentation to announce that the new code had completely failed inside the isolated test environment. The system logs clearly revealed that the rushed launch would have erased thousands of secure client records and caused millions in damages. Brandon turned pale as a bedsheet, frantically trying to shift the blame onto Tyler and accusing the engineering team of sabotage. Tyler stood his ground, presenting documented messages showing that Brandon had threatened his job to force the broken deployment. Before Brandon could spin another lie, I walked straight to the front of the boardroom, unpinning my hair and removing my stained name tag. The room fell into absolute silence as VP Garrison and the senior directors recognized the founder standing before them in a janitorial jumpsuit. Brandon collapsed back into his chair, his jaw hanging open as he realized the janitor he had been insulting for weeks held his entire career in her hands. The atmosphere in the room shifted instantly from corporate arrogance to utter panic. I looked Brandon directly in the eye, reminding him of the spilled coffee in the elevator and his arrogant declaration that people were either predators or furniture. I informed the entire room that Zenith Systems was built on integrity, hard work, and mutual respect, not toxic manipulation and fear tactics. Brandon tried to stammer out an apology, but his words caught in his throat as I officially terminated his employment effective immediately. I also stripped VP Garrison of his leadership position for enabling such a cruel and toxic work environment. I immediately promoted Tyler to lead project engineer, ensuring his brilliant talent would finally receive the respect and compensation it deserved. I then announced a sweeping overhaul of human resources, guaranteeing that every employee, from the facilities crew to the senior executives, would be treated with dignity. Cheers broke out across the floor as word spread that the founder had returned to clean house and restore fairness to the company. The culture of fear was instantly replaced by genuine relief, appreciation, and newfound hope. Walking through the polished lobby that evening, I looked at my reflection in the spotless glass doors with a deep sense of pride. My back was sore and my hands were rough from weeks of hard labor, but my spirit was stronger than ever. Power does not come from stepping on others to reach the top, but from standing up for those who cannot fight for themselves. I left my gray jumpsuit behind, knowing that the company I built was finally safe, honorable, and thriving once